Welcome to the No Prisoners Podcast. This is Andrew and Gilmar. We're Bucks County's #1 investigative journalists or investigators. Today we have John Wolstenholme from Wolstenholme Architects located in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. But before we talk about that, we want to mention happy hour at the end of every month. The last Wednesday of every month, we host a happy hour sponsored by one of the illustrious members of our communities or one of the businesses of the communities. Pick up the tab. We've got an open bar for businesses. It's a networking event. I hate saying it. It's a good time. We'll see you there. We're also recording in the best restaurant in all of Bucks County, possibly the world, 86 West, located also in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. This is where we host our happy hours. This is a great time. We got inside, outside bars, excellent, extensive food menu. It's quite impressive how well of a job they do with such an extensive menu. That in and of itself is a feat in and of itself.
For sure, man. It's definitely tough to, you don't want to become a diner, you know what I mean? But they have that happy medium where you're not a diner, but you offer a lot.
Yeah. It literally is the fallback, like your dream fallback. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, where should we go eat? It's like 86 West. Where should we go eat? Oh, I don't know. 86 West.
Yeah, man.
Because it's always good and it's got everything for everyone.
You get a burger.
And they got sushi.
You get a steak.
Can't beat
Can't go
it.
wrong, dude.
So we'll see you out there at 86 West. This is the No Prisoners Podcast. Enjoy this episode. I appreciate you taking the time. Of course, I know you're, a really busy member of this community and you run, a growing firm.
Yes, growing firm's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So I wanted to first start off by saying thank you for coming by.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for the invite to both of you, and it's been a little while.
Yeah, we it's been a long time coming to have you on, but I'm glad that we were trying to do it with you and Kelly, but I'm actually more excited to do it with just you, kind of just to get into more of the story behind how you came to own the firm, and then just how you came to be.
Sure.
In terms of where you grew up and things like that. So I guess take us through what it is you do right now and what is your business.
And then go back to the history.
Yeah. We'll do a flashback.
All right, flashback. All right. So right now, day to day is client relations, client liaison, working with. I guess in the near future, you'll probably meet up with Brigitte, overseeing, growing the interior design side, and then working with Kelly on growing the architecture side. And then recently, we just added Ron Tyson, who is going to be helping grow the architecture side as well. So we have a lot of people out there spreading the word.
How long have you been in business?
This past March was 19 years.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Yeah, so been around for a little while.
Yeah. Would you consider yourself, when you're growing your business now, to someone like me, it looks very, you're making very, seasoned decisions. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that way, being in business as long as you have, are you better at hiring, or are you are you more intent on what you're doing?
I always believed I was better at hiring, and I think over my career, percentage-wise, I think I did very, very well at that. The group we have right now is top-notch, phenomenal, and so I think I'm getting better at it.
Would you, over the years, you've obviously hired and fired, do you, you guys seem like you retain people for a long time?
Yes.
What is your, over the course of, we'll say, 19 years, have you been better at hiring, or did you, grow over time? Have you always been pretty good?
Yeah, I would say rare exceptions. Have I missed the mark on that? And it's happened.
Yeah.
But I think overall we've always been in a very, very slow growth mode.
Mm.
And one thing my dad had said was it takes a very long time to get a locomotive going, but once it's going, it's hard to stop. And so that's the kind of philosophy that we've had with the firm is grow it slow and don't take anything we don't have to.
Yeah, that's a really cool analogy.
Mm-hmm.
You guys feel like you're a part of the community, but you do work, more outside of Bucks County as well.
Yes.
Is that because your business is located in the Bucks County community, or do you think you guys it's important to you to be a part of the community scene? Because you guys are out and involved a lot more than what you would even an average business.
Yeah. Well, for the type of business we're in, we have to be out and about in the community. We just happen to be blessed by having an amazing community that we live in. And so we do try to get involved as much as we can with like the Doylestown Historical Society, the Heritage Conservancy, any of the local events that's kind of helping out with the history of Bucks County, the Michener, Mercer, all of those. We try to be as involved as we possibly can.
Is there like a community event or organization or something that like is like closer to your heart than something else per se?
Well, recently we just helped support Kin for just I don't know of anybody that's not been impacted by somebody with cancer.
Yeah. And
then children's pediatric, anything with children is I guess more hurtful when you see that.
Yeah, it definitely pulls at the
heartstrings.
Yeah, for sure.
Without a doubt.
What do you think like the keys to, because like I see you as a very successful person, not just necessarily in terms of like the size of your business or like financially, but when you interact with your team, everyone is like you have really great people around you, and that to me is the mark of like pretty successful business. What do you think like your personal attributes are, like what makes you kind of like capable of bringing all these people together? What do you think it is that like attracts that type of people?
Well, I just first of all, I believe that the solid group that we have now, everybody's not in it just for themselves, and I think that part of leading that is never ask somebody to do something you wouldn't do yourself, and just all about treating employees with respect and giving them ample opportunity to spend time with their family and keep it as flexible as we can so they thoroughly enjoy coming to work. I mean, that's key for me, is that never would want anybody to feel as though they're dedicating more of their lives sometimes than they to their families, and not love every minute of it. So
where do you like do you think you like picked up that philosophy from your experience in business, or is that something that you picked up from your parents, or is like everyone in your family kind of on that same wavelength?
I would say most of my family is. I'm the youngest of 8 kids. And,
jeez.
That's a lot of kids.
And from our parents, we were very driven, and every one of us got the entrepreneurial spirit, and each one of us have done something on our own.
Oh, really? All 8 of you have done your own business at one time or another?
Correct. And I've worked for several brothers over the years.
Do you have a lot of people in like the same business industry, like the construction industry?
My one brother who I used to work with, he would do custom kitchens and bathrooms. So I learned the woodworking side. And
so you have hands-on experience?
Yes.
That's rare for an architect.
Yeah, actually, my one son, he got, I don't know, a little bit of annoyed because when we were renovating the house, I was showing him how to do proper coping, and he goes, nobody cares or needs to know how to do coping.
Trust me, I don't know which camera's mine, but yes, we care. There are people that it will drive you nuts if you don't have that stuff mess.
Yeah, so, but anyway, so to answer your question, is I think a lot of it was instilled from parents' upbringing and always being involved with family business. And then later, whether it was working for family members or working for anybody else, I always kind of made a mental note of what not to do and how not to treat people, and that was a philosophy that I've always worked with.
Yeah, I don't know where I picked it up recently, but it was something my wife sent me about larger families. The kids tend to learn at a much earlier age, like which one of their brothers is like aligned with them, which one's the snitch, like which sister, isn't looking out for you, which one you can like take your homework to, and it makes you a more resourceful adult. And like a smaller family, like when you're an only child, you learn that much later in life.
And I think it's also fighting for what's yours as well.
Oh yeah.
You were the youngest.
But now to your point, as far as like family members, because each one, I guess, whether you're working with them or you're hanging out with them or whatever, I think you do tend to grow up faster because you're trying to be more like them. And and if they're older, you have older experiences, I think, sooner.
Do you all have kids, and like how many grandkids in total are there?
All right, so I got to go back through the list, just make sure I got them all. So So my oldest brother, he's got 3 kids. My oldest sister has 3 kids. My second oldest sister has 2 kids. And then everybody in between decided not to have kids.
Okay.
It was very interesting how that came about, and for varying reasons. And then my next oldest brother, he's got 3, and then I have 4.
Oh, okay. All right. So just under 20.
Exactly.
Not too bad. Some of those families, when you have like 8 kids, you end up having like 135 grandkids.
Yeah.
How do you even like do a family function?
Dude, I mean, my family's pretty big. I have a ton of cousins, and they've all recently had kids. So now our family functions it used to be maybe 30, 40 people. Now it's 50 to 60 people.
So the party keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, every time, man. And my cousins just keep having kids. And I'm like, you guys are crazy, but that's just nuts seeing how big a family can get. And you were the youngest of 8, you said?
Youngest of 8, yes.
Damn, so you probably learned a lot, built a lot of character from dealing with your older siblings.
Yeah, once again, like trying to, I don't know.
He's Kevin McAllister from Home
Yeah.
Alone. The cover of this episode is going to be John just be like,
There we go. Got the wind out.
Yeah.
they left me again. Buzz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember being left behind. But
Yeah, that was me my next question.
maybe I was too young to remember.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in this area?
Yes. Grew up just down in Northampton Township, just 20 minutes down the road.
Damn, hop, skip, and a jump away. It probably looked a lot different then, though.
Oh, yeah. We had a large farmer's field next to us, and now it's a township park.
Wow.
What did you go to high school? Council Rock.
I would have gone to Council Rock. My next 2 older brothers than me, he went to Council Rock. The rest of us went to Mount Carmel, or not Mount Carmel, Good Counsel down in Southampton.
Yeah. What made your parents decide to send the kids to Catholic school?
I think part of it was, helped with the discipline aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think they thought you would get a little bit more of a testing at school. and we were kind of at the stage where they were still, I guess the nuns were still getting you. And we had one professor or teacher that was also a previous boxer, I guess, in the Navy. He's a priest now. And he would hit you with the knuckle on the back of the head if you weren't typing properly, and I still can't type. But
Yeah.
Maybe he hit you too many times.
possibly.
He just hits you in that right spot in the brain. He just renders him in I just can't type anymore.
Yeah,
He
I
hit me too.
forgot.
He kept hitting me at that one spot.
That sucks.
Did you ended up? You went to Penn State? Am I right about that? Or you have kids in Penn State? Maybe
I've got my second youngest son is at Penn State right now, and he originally went to look for possibly architecture, or business. And after the first day, they were doing trying to figure out which classes you're going in. And when he first applied, he was undeclared. And so then when he found out that because he missed the cutoff by 1 day, that architecture was now 6 years, and he said there was no way I was doing that for 6 years. So he signed up for business class.
Wow.
And that's the path he's on now.
the architecture path. If you're not in an accelerated some sort of lifeless program, you're in there for a long time.
Damn.
And then you have to get masters and all that. Yeah.
Correct. It's a long path. You have to love it, or we have a lot of people that come in and shadow us, or interns, and I keep telling them, if you don't have the passion, find something else you have passion for, because it's a long road through college to decide you don't like it.
Yeah. Did you go to college in the city then?
I went to any college that would accept me. So I've got some time at Bucks County Community College, Montgomery County Community College, and then my official school for architecture was Spring Garden College, and I got when it started out with 115 kids, and it was down to about 12 to 15. In 4th year, I got a letter just saying, "Hey, congratulations, you got accepted in the thesis." And then 2 weeks later, I got a notice from the dean saying, "Hey, we apologize, the school went bankrupt." That was the start of my career. But so what happened was I still had 2 classes to go at that point in time that I was going to take during the summertime. But since the school didn't exist, I then went to Temple, Maine for those 2 courses.
Okay.
And so my diploma, after 4 very grueling years, has a line through the dean's name, because he wasn't officially a dean. So I've one of, I think, about 3 diplomas that has a line going through it. But
that's awesome. That's kind of I wonder if That's like, someday if you're ever a famous individual, you could like auction off your
exactly
invalid diploma.
Invalid diploma.
Yeah.
So like, he shouldn't even been building.
Exactly. All these years he was unlicenseable.
Yeah, when you have a museum in Doylestown someday,
exactly,
they'll be like, "Would you believe it?"
Yeah, would you believe it? Look at him now.
Yeah.
Look at the statue.
So, diploma on the back wall with the big line through it.
Yeah,
but that's awesome story.
So then I decided I wasn't going to jump right back into school, and because starting over at that point, I was thinking, so I decided to go work for a couple of years. I worked for a model making company down in Millville, New Jersey, doing professional models. And then when I decided that there was no true career in that, I decided that I might get back into school before too many years pass.
So you were building kind of cityscapes and town models for other architecture firms.
Other firms.
Because this is before like 3D printing.
Exactly. It was way before that. So I was working, building some models, like there's a Otis elevator, escalator, like a new model they were coming out with that had to have a working creation, I guess, for taking as a sales tool.
Oh,
so
wow.
we were doing everything from that, training models for nuclear power plants, like Salem was an example where when that was shut down, they had all of the pumps or whatever. We would bring those in, and we would dismantle them, cut them open. So the models we were creating were everything from training models to architectural models, like Andrew, you had mentioned earlier.
So basically, if I wanted to like cut a car or like a gun in half and like show you, and like you guys would set it up so that I could make a demonstration, basically.
So we have done a lot of interesting things, but never a gun.
Yeah,
I mean, if I stayed there a little bit longer, I would have done one of those.
Yeah.
Shucks.
Yeah, dang, that
We'll
cool.
never know what the inside of a gun looks like.
Never. Damn.
But so then, and then I decided that driving to Millville every day was not wasn't cool any longer. I started working for a brother. He had a car audio and car alarm and just everything car placed down in Horsham.
Okay.
So I worked there for a while, and then decided I was going back to school at nighttime.
Yeah, like you're just screwing in the head unit, and you're like, "Damn, I got to get back to school."
That was part of it, and one when I was on the installation side, and it took me like 3 hours to do something should take only an hour, then that's not your career.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the guy in the bay next to you just blowing out like Honda head units like 3 a day, and John's like, "I don't know where these wires go."
Exactly, the wiring harnesses and all that. But anyway, but it was good. I learned helped me with sales there because everybody came in the door was a salesperson, even if they only came in to deliver the mail. And so anyway, so learned a lot there for sales, and then so bounced between 3 different brothers working, and then decided to go back to school and went to Drexel this time. And so after all the other schooling, they finally let me in because the first time they wouldn't accept me.
Yeah, that's what we have in common. We're Drexel alum.
There we go.
I'm fake alum. I didn't officially graduate.
You still went there, though.
I still went, and I still paid the bill.
There
Still
you
paid
go.
the bill.
I still paid the bill, and that counts.
There you go.
So what did you take there?
Architecture.
Architecture.
Yeah, I got like 85% of the way through a bachelor's in architecture, and I already have a bachelor's in economics.
Yeah, so that's why you appreciate better design then.
Oh yeah. I started building above my pay grade, and kind of just was like, I don't know what to do here. I need to do something. My girlfriend at the time just did a little bit of research, and there was Boston University and Drexel University were the only two schools in the country that offered a full bachelor's degree but done at night.
Yes. Yeah,
So I would go, like I was growing the business and then going to school full time at night.
and that's what was awesome about Drexel.
Yeah. They were very accommodating. Drexel, the difference between Drexel and Temple was huge to me. There wasn't that much time between when I graduated Temple to when I started at Drexel, but just the academic atmosphere was a lot different.
Yes.
It was much more serious at Drexel. Like you could tell, just like even the younger kids that like I interacted with through my classes were much more serious than anyone that I met at Temple. And that's not saying anything disparaging on Temple. It's just I think that Drexel just kind of does a good job, filtering it out. And I also think it's a much smaller school, so they have the obligation to keep it small and
And focused.
focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought Drexel being a much larger school for architecture, and then Spring Garden College being a tiny school, albeit the oldest technical college when they closed.
R.I.P.
It was great having two different I guess exposures like that.
Yeah, it was also nice. I felt like Drexel didn't really spare any expense when it came to like new equipment. Like if there was some cool new laser printer, they had it. If there was some sort of thing, like they just seem, I mean, you had to, fight for access to some of that stuff, but they would bring in, it was a good experience for me. Architecture, ultimately, I got far enough in, and the business was like business or school, life, like everything started pulling apart at itself. And at that point, I had met my now wife, and she was just kind of like one day to me was just like, well, why do you have to go to, like, why are you still doing this if the business is growing? And I was just not the type of person to kind of give up on anything. So I just felt like I was a quitter if I quit school, even if I hated it. And then I realized, I'm like, no, I'm an adult now. I can quit things and it's okay. And then I quit, and then I got like a letter in the mail that you're like, you got to pay for this.
Damn.
And I was like, I was expecting this.
Yeah.
Now I got to really work now.
Yeah.
Well, schools aren't meant for everybody, and so far 3 of my kids are in college, but my fourth, if he decides that he's not going to college, I'm certainly not encouraging it. I just see that way too much debt attached to it for. Each one of my kids went through said that they truly didn't learn any of the mechanics, and we see it with interns coming into the firm.
Yeah,
that they're learning socialization skills, they're learning problem solving and all that. But when it comes to technical knowledge, anytime that they're working out in the field, which is one of the things that I lacked a little bit on like the framing side, all of that is what I think every architect should be going through and as part of their school program.
100%.
Working and getting educated the right way.
Yeah, it was very weird to me because I went there because I started building bigger and bigger things. And I was like, I need to learn drawings and I need to learn this side of the business to really get to where I want to go. And that was like design build. And that was when that was first starting to hit like the residential side of things. There was already like design builders in the world, but they were like usually architecture firms that also were GCs that, had crazy technology at their disposal.
Yeah, they're huge.
Yeah, huge companies. And where they literally, like, there's a company out there that like will stick a highly skilled architect on one house for 3 years. Like that's like the kind of stuff they would bring people in to talk to us about. But none of my peers, including my teachers, at a certain point, I was building bigger and bigger and school was going. And I was getting like the education exposure to like the architecture school. But then one day I just kind of was like, these teachers, some of them had no real building experience. And I was actually building. And then the kids in my classes that didn't have any building or architecture experience were learning these things. And I'd be like, wait a minute, like we're not even going to talk about, different reveals or different, technical things. And that was seen to be the problems for interior designers or architectural designers. Architects designed spaces in terms of your experience when you come into a space or when you're approaching a building or how a building affects a cityscape or something like that. Yeah. Where outlets go, zero school. There was zero, not a single conversation almost 5 years I was there.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. It was I was kind of like, when are we going to get to the technical building stuff?
Nuts and bolts.
And it really was like, they talked about like loads and physics and things like that. But it was kind of like there was no like you took physics and then you took the architecture stuff, but there was no class that like bridged all that. You were kind of just expected to like know how to figure out how to build a building to actually hold weight.
Why do you think that is? Why is that?
Because they think it's the engineer's problem, or they're like everybody. There's only so much time you can spend in school, and I think at the end of the day they sit down and they're like, look, like we got you for 5 years. This is what we can fit in. So we're going to focus on the design, the feelings rather than the technical.
Yeah, and it is a tough balance because you only do have 5 or 6 years, whatever it's going to be for schooling for architecture. And as much as you live in studio and all of that, most of the classes are more theory-based and not so much of the, I don't want to say practical, but they don't want to get too much into like how things are truly going to get built. And that's where some of the better teachers would take over from that and make that part of their class is the how part.
Yeah, which is it's really cool to talk about, because what they'll do the semesters, I mean, it might have been different when you were there, but they would break up like a semester into like a couple different motifs or projects, or maybe one big project, and you would have to present to panelists maybe multiple times a semester or once a semester, or in the end for your thesis, it's like once for the year. It's like your board, like your final hoorah. So you have to go and you like design, like say like they'll give you like a set of conditions and they'll be like, design a building for this new civic center for a community that just, went through a terrible wildfire, and like you got to design a community that gives tribute to this, and like then you show up and they rip you apart. They're like, well, why would you put your roof here? Oh. Why wouldn't you tilt it on this angle? It makes much more sense for the landscaping you have down. And you'd be like, and a lot of these people have done like some of them were really, really skilled architects or came from firms. Like, so when they would get introduced, I'd be like Googling who they are, because sometimes they wouldn't tell you who they were bringing first. And then sometimes they were nobodies. And the nobodies would rip you apart, whereas the really experienced people, I could see him coming in and being like, why'd you do this? And then be like, well, did you think about this? But some of them would just get the opportunity to be like, I had a bad day. You did too.
Damn.
or they remember when they were in thesis being torn apart, that they were returning the favor.
You're like, sorry. And kids would break.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
You started with like 112 kids in your program?
Down 115 to 12 is what it ultimately went to.
Yeah, that's like the Navy SEALs.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Is that because of like the difficulty of the experience?
I think it's a little bit of part of it. Some of them did get exposure to working in a firm, and they realized that it wasn't exactly for them, which once again, I encourage anybody that's working in anything that they're doing, get some time actually in the field, whatever it is. And then also, I think it was the long hours, because we'll say at our school, party night was Thursday night. Well, for the architecture department, Friday morning was crit day. So Thursday nights, when everybody else on campus was out partying, everybody else was in studio in the architecture and the interior.
You guys are like
side.
razor blading models
Exactly.
and freaking out. Be like, my model's not gluing.
And, I would always be like the last one to present, because I was still gluing my model while the presentation and then the glue was still wet, because when the people came in, they were rearranging your models anyway, and everybody else was getting upset because they spent the last 3 weeks building their model, and so they got a little upset when people came rearranged.
Yeah.
Savages. They'd be like, have you thought about doing this wall here? Yeah. And you'd be like, oh my fucking God, no.
You mentioned earlier that you have to have the passion for it. What is it that architecture makes you feel, that you thought, this is going to be my career, I want to do this, and I want to build something with it?
Well, I guess when I was younger, I always was looking at hey, what could I do and make as a career? And you heard the story from 9 million people that, hey, they started out with Legos. I was right there with them, started out with the Legos, and always enjoyed building something. And so as far as always enjoying how when a client first moves into their home, if we're designing a custom home, something beautiful that you guys are building, having the homeowner at the end, just kind of how much they love it, or a year later showing pictures to their grandkids, and they'll send them to you and you say, hey, this is why we did what we did, or whatever. That keeps you going, and it drives that passion of seeing how much you impact other people's lives, whether it's a residence or a restaurant like this one here we had done for Tom.
We're literally recording our happy hour events happen in a space that started out on a piece of paper on his desk.
Yeah, so, that's pretty crazy.
That's so cool.
And then Casey from our office, she's I think living in Colorado now. So she and I and Matt were the ones, I guess, spearheaded this. Casey was the lead of it.
Yeah.
And but every once in a while we come over, we'll send a picture for checking on our projects. So.
Yeah. That's really cool to hear. Because we recorded a video a long time ago where Gilmar accidentally, or it was intentionally, but I wasn't, I heard it back and was like, oh, that's why I build. And it was really just kind of you're making spaces for people's lives to happen. And I'd never said it to myself in such a simple way, but hearing it back, I was like, oh, it really is that simple. People grow up in your project.
Exactly.
And it's cool to make that like be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. I always likened it, and going through school is like they say art. I guess something to be viewed, and architecture is something that's art that you live in, and how much it can impact your life. And always, you ideally want it to be in a positive way. Because obviously, if a space is horrible, it's going to impact you negatively just the same.
I actually went to school with somebody that, like, for their thesis, he was a year ahead of me. He was like a teacher's assistant, and we were talking about his like final project, and he was doing it on prisons. Like how you can design prisons better to like yield better inmates. And we were all like, good for you. You know what? You do that, dude. That's a problem that needs to be solved. I was like, I didn't think about that ever, but he was like explaining how European prisons look, like all that stuff. So it's cool.
So is that what he's doing today? Is making prisons that?
I have no idea. I'll look up on LinkedIn and we'll put his bio down here right here. Check him
out, dude.
He probably designs like fortresses for Raytheon or something like that. Logistics for military contractor.
Yeah.
That's what happens with people like that.
No, oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just going to ask Andrew. So when you had to make that decision in school, whether you were going to continue working or if it was going to stay with architecture. Obviously, you were building at the time, right?
Yeah.
Was it just that you felt more of a calling to building and leaving the 3D behind that people were going to live in?
Oh, wow. Great question. It was a lot of different reasons. Money. It came down to money. I started hearing more and more about people and my peers and stuff talking about like how little money they made when they graduated school, how little money architects make unless you own your own firm or you really get in a good niche or something like that, because it is very competitive coming out of school. And then I own my own business, so I never really had any intentions on owning my own business. And as I got to like the end of school and realizing like I don't know how I'm going to make this work, and the aspect of me having to sit and work at a firm in order to get sit for the boards and all of that, like I was never going to be able to become a licensed architect. And once I realized that, I was like, oh, well then I don't need to be here anymore.
Exactly.
And that's what truly happened. Like my passion is business. Like I love building, but my real passion is building a team and then executing a function with a group of people and putting the program together, building the scope out, building the calendar out, making sure all the contracts are set in, doing the financial side of things, making sure the customer's catered to, and then integrating that all together. I was never going to be just a designer, not just a designer, that's not a thing. It just wasn't I like being the orchestrator too much.
More involved.
Yeah, I like being the operator. I liked being in business, and because there's John the architect, and then there's John the business owner. You started out maybe as a pretty decent architect and a pretty decent business owner, and then now today you've grown in each over the years, and you have this very reputable. There you go. Reputable firm that everybody kind of looks up to, and my goal was to kind of do that. And I just didn't have, when I went to architecture school, I didn't have patience. I didn't realize that business was going to it was little pebbles into a mountain. I was like, if I go to architecture school, I'll make this leap. And in hindsight, it has also benefited me in a lot of really great ways. I got more comfortable just going up to architects and whereas before I was the builder, they were the architects. It's made my relationship with designers and those firms, I can navigate both worlds, and it makes for a better job. And I wasn't aware that was going to happen. Yeah,
I think there's more of an appreciation from both sides that way, and you, I guess, approach things more with a design eye, just like our goal with getting more architects to go and spend at least one summer framing houses to truly understand how things go together. Because our goal is, and there's never going to be a perfect set of drawings, is to have the most effort that we can go through to help solve a client's problem, and then how do we take that concept and then get it on drawings to be able to relay, whether it's in now 3D models on the computer or still 2D drawings, to give the tools to everybody in the trade to be able to, as efficiently as possible, understand everything that we're trying to portray.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I don't like the negative pressure that comes from both industries. Speaking of framing, like we're framing a house right now, and there's a lot of challenges with that house. I mean, you saw it originally.
Yes.
And there's been a couple of times where we've had challenges where like the framer wants to get frustrated with the architect. And I'm like, no, like, do you understand, like, the same problems that we're solving in, like, the real world right here, like, those same problems existed in these drawings. We just couldn't see, like, this is overall very challenging project. It's not because we have an inferior architect. Like, I don't like that pointing. I believe that architecture exists as, like, the way to really, really think about your project before you build it. Because everybody sees like a project that your dad threw together on like a Saturday afternoon. And then you see projects that somebody thought about for 10 years before anybody ever started building. And it's much like, you can watch it on the, on YouTube. You can watch like the Architect Digest's like home tours. You're like, some of these stories that behind the houses, you're like, they thought about it for 15 years before they actually set a shovel in the ground. And I really enjoy, as I grow my business, my intent is to very much grow with clients that want to spend time ensuring that they're getting what they want by designing, and then making sure the project is like superior to what could be by going through the design process.
Yeah, and that's it's important to have clients, once again, appreciate following the process, because designs aren't generated overnight. We try to approach it where we have more of a collaborative, involving everybody on the entire team that would benefit the client, whether it's the architects, the lighting designers, the plumbers, the builders, every aspect of it. Try to get them as early in there as into the drawings as possible. So then that way, if there's any nuances or if there's any techniques that this builder likes, we try to capture that in the drawing. So, it gets permitted exactly the way it's going to get built, and it usually gets built faster because everybody that's already used to seeing what those drawings are going to be before they get in the field.
Yeah, and what's cool about a firm like yours is that you have design and architecture in under one roof.
Correct.
So what ends up happening is you have one set of drawings, because if you bring in an interior designer to a firm that doesn't do that, like you end up having like the architectural drawings, and then you have like the interior designer's drawings that you constantly have to be like, okay, but this isn't here, but this switch is here, and like going back and forth. So that's why I think that, or like, I guess maybe not. Do you think that having design in-house makes your firm competitive or yield a better product than having like a good design relationship with like maybe of the several different designers?
Yeah. Well, to answer your one comment there, as far as the outlets and switches being in the wrong spot, that's because they didn't teach that in architecture. But as far as I think that we're in a very good position because we collaborate very well with the outside designers, because there's going to be a project or there's going to be a client that our in-house design isn't the right fit for, or they may have already had a designer that they've worked with in at other homes or vacation house, something like that. And so we've always worked very well with any extended team. And and once again, it's very important to have everybody involved as early in the process as possible. Architects working with lighting designers to make sure that everything is coordinated and things go in the right spot. And then to answer your question as far as if it puts us more competitive, I don't know if it says it makes it more competitive. I know that we feel better going to a client that we have the ability to offer them when they come out to a meeting, that we have everybody sitting in the same room, and we're having the interior designers trying to help guide any future decisions on the interior side on the architecture. And I think everything just in that cohesive, collaborative approach, the end result's better for the client. More thought out.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's more of like making sure the client is supported if they need to be, rather than like trying to force design on every client.
Exactly. Yeah. So then that way we offer it to them, and if they say, hey, you know what, maybe later, we'll just offer that as an option in the proposal, so it's easy to able to be expanded as an added service. But we don't force anything on clients.
Interesting. Going back to like the schooling and like the finance side of things, like do you have any concern, or like where do you see architecture as a degree going into the future, being that like the debt to go to architecture school for 6 years, you're racking up 2 more years than, say a business degree.
Sure.
What do you think that's doing to the industry? Or like, have you had any experience with like negative effects of that?
I mean, obviously, I think everybody in all of the arts, especially starting out, are underpaid. I mean, just when you compare it to any other profession, attorneys, doctors, anything else like that.
Do you think that's necessary?
I don't think it's necessary.
Like to serve your time kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we've had clients that felt that interns shouldn't be paid. And I was like, we're not living in the 1800s over here.
The funny thing is, this is my business.
Yeah.
I feel like that's interesting. Yeah. I'll take that into consideration.
Gilmar, you probably have been the same thing. I mean, just sometimes every client's a little bit different. And so I forget what question you had there that I was answering.
No, it's more so
as far as the schooling.
The schooling, because it seemed like I watch, maybe it's just like the negative people that I went to school with, but I see people I went to school with, or like, went to school with maybe a year behind me, or different architects that I'm now like networked with at that age. Like it seems like a grind that first couple of years. And I was more so asking like what you think, because you have the ability to put this team together. You have a very nice team. Mm-hmm. What is the industry doing to hurt itself? Yeah. Or is this like something that's just kind of part of it?
I do think that the industry doesn't help itself in that regard. And part of it is, I would say, and most architects would admit that they're designers first, and especially ones that went through all the schooling, is like they've always envisioned them as doing these grandiose civic structures that everybody in the world is going to see and admire. And which is partly why a lot of architects have high egos too.
we won't get into the weeds here. Let's stop ruffle too many feathers.
Yeah, but as far as I think striving to get the right clients helps build where you're able to pay better. And everybody on my staff and everybody in the whole firm knows that I'd love to be able to pay everybody a higher amount, because I think everybody should be, because they have great value there. And I think it says we're, securing better projects and the right types of projects. We're getting closer to those goals.
Interesting. So I guess you really only have influence over what you can do.
Sure.
As a business owner. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, and I think, and I've fallen in this as well, where clients will sometimes know that architects and just right there in line with, I guess, artists, is that they love what they do and they're passionate about it, and maybe they'll go and explore various different designs and not feel as though that added time should be compensated for. So we've had a little bit of that, and I think that's prevalent in the industry.
What like when you're hiring people, because your industry is very competitive in terms of salary and things like that, and you're growing, like you do a lot of diverse projects. Most of them,
yes,
are nice projects, What I got to keep them humble. Can't let this architecture ego just powers up.
Yeah, right.
What projects like are getting you? I know you're excited about all your projects, but what projects are you kind of like dreaming after, or what kind of things that, like, if it hit your desk, would you be like, we're doing this?
Yeah. Well, I think right now, I'll talk about an active project. Dan in our office, he spearheaded Carversville Inn, for example. And we're really excited to see that one, once again, because of just how much it's going to help bring the community back, because Carversville's only got such a tiny downtown, and half the businesses there.
Blink, you miss it.
You blink, you miss it, or they were closed, and
because it got wiped out by that one hurricane flood
with the flood that came
Sandy.
through, and between that and the pandemic, so that's why the Carversville Inn didn't reopen. So an active project, I would say, is seeing that one open up and be for our clients' goal of giving back to the community by having an amazing place that they all found, like all their friends and neighbors would end up at, and they would go and hang out with.
Kind of like this place.
Exactly, just like this place. So Carversville Inn of Carversville and 86 West of Doylestown.
Do you drive your family nuts when you drive places and point out the buildings you've designed?
Not so much drive them crazy doing that, but sometimes I'll drive like I'm not sure who has been somebody new for the firm, and we're out touring, and I'll point out various projects.
We know. We know.
Yeah,
We looked you up.
We know, John.
Yeah, so now I have Dad just point out the projects because I've pointed out probably 3 times one of them to him. So now on purpose, I'll point it out when we're driving by. Hey, Dad, you remember that?
What do you think having such a cool last name is like a blessing or a curse?
I find it as a blessing for a couple reasons. One, it distinguishes you a little bit more as far as like very few people, they may not be able to spell it, but they don't forget it. And so there it sticks in people's minds. Sometimes I've run into prior like teachers or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, I had your older brother," and then yeah, you always got that eye roll kind of a thing. They set it up for abuse for everybody behind them. So I don't know, just I appreciate it. It's not very common locally here, but it's amazing how many people have called. There's a police officer down in Philly that's got that name. There's a teacher in Philadelphia that's got that name, and so as I said, I've never met him, so I don't think
is it an English name?
I'm actually a mutt, but I would say English is the strongest part of that. So it's a German, English, Bohemian, Irish. And,
Bohemian.
Yeah, so it's not around anymore. But,
it's a throwback.
It's a little
shout out.
Shout out the Irish or Bohemians. Yeah, the whenever I heard Wolstenholme, it always reminded me of German for some reason. I think it's the Wolsten part of it.
Yeah, so it's, as I said, it's probably a good English amount of English and a good amount of German for the namesake, and then the Irish didn't get anywhere in there.
Yeah, Irish always get left behind.
They can sneak in.
Yeah.
Damn. So I wanted to ask you about, I guess yourself, and you seem to be a very successful man. You run a well-oiled machine. What is it that you think that you're consistently doing that is yielding better results?
I think going back to hiring right, I think is a huge part of it. So having, as I said, everybody in the office, we look to for any big decisions. We try and make it a collaborative approach, and so everybody's working towards the same common goal of doing the best for the client. And so I think always client number one and employees being 1.1, like everybody, like just as equal importance, I would say.
So putting people before yourself.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good part of it. And we've always done right by clients. I mean, we've had a mistake, we own up to it. We've never blamed. Like I don't know, as I said, there's a lot of contention sometimes between builders and architects, and we haven't found that too much because everybody works together as a solid team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a good part of it is identifying good clients that appreciate the whatever home or business that you're trying to re-envision for them, or take their vision and help make it a reality. And I think also, I guess we have some surveyors and photographers that we've been working with from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, once again, taking care of people. And all of our consultants, normally within a day or two, or certainly never more than a week of being invoiced, we make sure they're taken care of. So when we need help or whatever, they're always right there to help out with the client, and aligning with good power partners is key.
In terms of vision, how much of, I guess, would you say that you have a certain style of architecture that you enjoy and kind of want to implement into your projects, or is it strictly you use your customer's vision and then you go based off that, or do you sometimes mash that together?
I'm going to go client by client or project by project. So we first try to understand as much as we can about the client's aesthetic, whether it's through they provide photos or their existing house, if it's going to be a renovation, to try and determine, are they looking to have the existing house inspire it, or are they looking to do like a modern addition that would work off like the massing or the proportion of the historic home, and then do a modern addition. So we've done a little bit of both. For me, from a style standpoint, I love adaptive reuse of structures. We've done a lot of barn conversions. Our first barn conversion was Tom Frank, the owner of here. That was our first project actually that we worked with him on. And
those are my favorite projects in Bucks County. When somebody takes a really, really dilapidated barn and puts something awesome, in particular, especially a house. But sometimes you see people do like wedding venues or things that turn out pretty nice, and it's really cool to see something that like the barns are going to fall down eventually because nobody needs barns like they used to. So seeing them like reused like that is always, it's kind of getting a piece of both worlds.
Exactly.
It's so cool to me.
What was put in that barn instead of I'm not
Tom
familiar.
Frank.
Yeah,
It's his house.
what did you do? Oh, it's his house.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, unfortunately, he only lived in there for a short period of time, and so that specific barn actually came from where Our Lady of Guadalupe Church is located at, and so that's where it had to come down for that church to be built, and was underutilized barns, as you said, most of them are, and so we always would prefer to see a barn stay a barn. However, if a client needs a barn conversion, or if a barn's got to come down for a road going through, whatever it may be, as much of that we can reuse into a new structure is the ultimate of sustainability.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's like when we, on like a minor scale, it's like when we got all that barn wood from like down south and we made all those cabinets.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that. It's like a very small scale of that. It's like, or if like you took like a piece of the World Trade Center and you took a beam and put that in your building.
That'd be nuts.
So like there's varying degrees. So like I think when buildings have pieces of like, oh wow, we did a house last year with bricks from like the Chicago place where they demolished this. I forget what the brick place was, but it was something cool. And there was like prints of the brick in this people's house.
Yeah. There's this building in Trenton. It's called, I think they're called Trenton Lofts now. It's by the Rolling Market. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Trenton, but it used to be a warehouse and they rebuilt it for apartments, and they kept a lot of the old steel work and wood in the building. And they have a common room and you can see all the pipes and steel beams. You're like, damn, this is cool. This is all original. This is nice.
What's cool is you're seeing how it was built back in the day and how things have changed over the years, and you're keeping all that history intact in the building. And then to your point, as far as if you're bringing material from somewhere else, now you're introducing something that came from Chicago and reintroducing it now into Bucks County. And now 100 years from now, it's going to be confusing historians looking at it. It's like we thought this was from Chicago, and we're seeing it here in Bucks County.
Like, is it from Chicago or Bucks County? Be like, who built the pyramids? Like, we don't even know.
No one knows anything.
The mystery of a century.
Yeah.
Where's the brick from? Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, man.
Do you have like a project, like gun to your head, best project or most like rewarding project, or the number one project to you personally that stands out in your mind?
That's a tough one.
Like, do you have a number one?
I would say I might answer that a different way.
Okay.
Is that so one of the projects that still driving past today that I really appreciate, I'm going to go back to Tom Frank's barn. That was the first barn conversion that we had done, and I would say it was the first truly custom home. And we've done additions and things like that, but it was the first from scratch truly custom home in the higher quality, the high end that I would consider. So I think it was part of that opportunity as far as growing in Bucks County. We did that our start of our second year in business. We started that design. So
how soon into being an architect did you start your business?
So in 91 is when I finished up, the first degree, and then worked for a couple of years. And so then fully getting licensed wasn't until 2003. And
oh, wow.
So
See, that's what I'm talking about. He took him.
Yeah,
You've got to really want to be in business.
It was a long road. So I worked for an architect down in Springfield, Delaware County that focused purely on retail. And then I went about 8 weeks without pay. I was there for the experience. And at the time, we were designing the first shopping center in Atlantic City in 25 years. And it was the first funds for the Atlantic City Redevelopment Fund to create like a catalyst in the community down there. And so that was my last project.
It definitely worked.
And it's still standing. so that's standing. And I don't know. I just went to a developers thing with Ron and Kelly from our office last week, and look at Bart Blattstein. I guess with the amount of money he's investing in Atlantic City, he's encouraging anybody that's a developer to relook at Atlantic City. And
he has a few dollars.
Yes, he does.
He's got a few dollars.
But so I would say from that standpoint, I think that was a key one for I guess establishing ourselves locally on that.
Good answer, because Tom listens to this.
Oh, that's good.
Hey, Tom.
He's gonna text me and be like, "That was a great episode.
Yeah.
Very thoughtful question."
Thoughtful question, making sure we get Tom in there. But no, and
I just slip him a 20.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
That's awesome. What do you like? I guess what if somebody's a young architect? What are some of the things, or like what are the things they should be doing, or like tips, I guess, that you would give somebody in that position to be successful?
So going back to like when they first start thinking that, hey, I want to design for the rest of my life, whether they're applying for colleges or they're in college, is to try and get out in the field as much as possible. The other thing, as far as while you're in architecture school, most of the focus is on civic type of like larger projects. So if you have the opportunity to do a little bit of residential, or if there's an advisor that you're working with that dabbles on residential, like trying to get a little more exposure to them while you're in school, because almost all of it's more on the either theoretical or on the larger civic size. And so if they're having the opportunity to work in a firm, to try and work in a small firm, because you get a lot more hands-on work with and more exposure to design meetings, going out and surveying buildings, and having, I guess, exposure to every aspect of it, and maybe getting more time in front of clients to see what their expectations are and how they would approach a design. And then also trying to get, on the flip side, a larger firm, because then that way they have the opportunity to see larger projects, and albeit a lot of their days are going to be doing ADA, which is accessibility details for hours upon hours for bathrooms. That's sometimes holes that you're put into, as far as like a bucket. Like, hey, if you're good at doing renderings in the larger firms, you're going to spend a lot of time doing renderings and not getting on the design side. So I think it's important to
So rather than working in like a restaurant while you're in college, getting that summer experience maybe at a firm,
I think it's huge.
Would be the move.
Yeah, you'll probably make more money at the bar working on the
Undoubtedly.
server, without a doubt. But
that's what the nights are for.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Where do you see, like, with interest rates being what they are and land kind of being scarce in Bucks County, or developable land, or land for sale, where do you see the market heading for the construction industry in Bucks County and abroad? Like, do you think there will be more remodeling in the next 10 years, or do you think new construction will continue to thrive?
I think starting with residential, I believe that renovations are still always going to be the number one, because buildable land, to your point, is getting very, very minimal. So everybody's starting to push higher and higher up into like Ottsville and going up further. And then that's why I think there's a lot of people have moved up to like the eastern area as well. And there's every site that we develop new now, almost every one of them, we either have to deal with steep slopes, you're dealing with either wetlands or whatever else it may be. So the lots that are available right now, there's a reason why they're still available. And so it's a longer process. The clients have to be more willing to endure some of that pain, whether it's financial going through, because you have attorneys, civil engineers, architects, and whoever else that may need to give presentations, landscape architects. And so that staying power of the client, I guess, is important.
Would you say, like a selfish question for my business, would it be wise to like continue investing time into these projects where like customers want a new construction house, but they can't get one, so they end up like rebuilding an entire home? Like, is that going to continue to grow in this area? Because I personally think it is, but like you might have a different advantage on that.
I agree with you on that, because we always tell a client, like if they're out looking at houses or whatever, if they find a house that's 70% or 80% of what they want, to me it would be more, if it was me, and I always put myself in the shoes of our homeowner, I would be more akin to buy that and doing a renovation to it or do an addition to it, because they're going to get there much quicker rather than going through a year or 2 year approval process. And then also on the flip side of it, a lot of times clients will be out looking and they say, hey, you know what? I love my neighbors. I know what I have now. If they're moving and they build a new house, they don't always know who their neighbors are going to be.
That's a good point. Quality of thy neighbor.
Yes.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, without a doubt. But that's why I agree with you. I think that renovations are still going to be strong. And once again, also because of the scarcity of land.
What do you know about land scout?
It's only so much of it, dude.
You don't know.
It's only so much of it. What do you mean?
You're not up in the game, dude.
What the hell?
Fighting. It's a fight out there.
I know it's a fight, man. I hear stories.
An everyday struggle.
Yeah, it's fine.
Bucks County. Yeah, it's surprising to me. I got a lot of emails because we're involved in social media, maybe more so than other companies locally. I'll get, and especially because of YouTube, I'll get leads from California. And it is so surprising to me every time you speak to a individual from at least 3+ hours away, how much they don't believe you when you tell them how long it's going to take them to actually find land and build on it. They're like, nope, somebody told me it was 9 months to finish this morning. And I was like, the what?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be like, yeah, I lost a project. Well, they'll be back.
Okay.
But yeah, a couple weeks ago, the lady was like, yeah, we're going to go with this other builder. They say they can break ground in 9 months. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
And if that's true, who do they know?
You just took food off John's kid's
yeah,
plate.
what the hell?
If you're listening to this,
You're lying to these people.
his college-age kids are eating less food this week.
That's right.
Eating rice instead of pasta.
How do you feel about yourself? How do you sleep at night? Hiring that other guy.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Man, that's crazy.
But I was like, when I heard her say that, I was like, okay. I didn't know what to say. I was like, I'd say,
Yep.
Sometimes people will say anything to get a job.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, there's nothing I'm going to say to you. I'm just going to seem like the guy who's fighting after his ex-girlfriend right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We all sleep well at night knowing that we do go by our clients. We've never give them that falsified hope there, you know?
Yeah, it's really great when like somebody else, you hear from somebody else like how appreciative they were of your experience or things like that. We wrapped up a project today that should have been done months ago, and it was done months ago, except for this one little switch box. Like the trim, the way the cabinet package and the millwork and everything came in real weird at this one little spot. I can show you a picture.
It's all back to the electrical box again.
Yeah. And I saw it get installed, and I looked at it, and when I called the customer, I was like, just so you know, and this is weeks ago, I was like, I'm not really happy with this whole situation. I don't care what you say. I'm doing this. And today looked amazing. Joe Teresi cleaned up the paint yesterday, and I looked at her today, and now she's pregnant. So you're doing it for the kids. Future generations, we're going to see this switch and how ugly it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so sorry it took this extra weeks. And she's like, no, we appreciated it. And like, she told me like how much she appreciated the fact that I just like was upset about this one switch when she knew how much other things I have to do in a day. And I was like, I appreciate that you appreciate that.
Yes.
But there was no way this switch was going to, like, I would be thinking about it for years.
Yeah. And every time you saw another switch that was installed poorly, you would think of that one
I'd
again.
be like, oh man, I wonder if they still like think it's okay. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you are that way though. You're very detail oriented. So if something's not the way it's supposed to be, you're like,
yeah, and I've learned over the years there are customers that just want something, and like I have to learn to be like, look, like you're not looking for the level of care that I'm going to bring, and that's zero offense to it. Like some people just want it fast, and they're like, we know I've had people be like, I know yours will look better, but I want it today.
yeah.
That's a shame when the quality is put aside for the time aspect of it.
Yeah, sometimes those are just like the conditions.
Yeah.
But sometimes when it's not the pressure, it's like really.
Well, and obviously you're taking pride in what you're doing and want every detail to be just right. And that's why probably not taking the jobs that are, hey, we really want this to be done yesterday. That ultimately wouldn't have been well for you. You would have regretted that one anyway.
Yeah, I met with, I have 2 projects with Brigitte and Caitlin right now. And both of them are like, we want them done this year. And the one Brigitte was like, what are you going to tell them? And I was like, I'm going to tell them we will really try and be honest that it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, it's usually cabinetry and stuff like that on those size projects. It's like, if you don't order your cabinetry right away, you're waiting, because some custom cabinets are like 12 weeks. So if you start planning your project and that's 90 days, and then you order the cabinets, like you're 12 more weeks from that. So it's like sometimes people don't even realize that ordering that they're like they're thinking about tile, and it's like no, we got to talk about cabinets right now. And they're like, no, we're not ready. And be like, you want this done or not? Karen, you want your bathroom?
I've seen that happen with glass. I've seen that happen with appliances, with cabinets.
Yeah, you remember when you like first came on with me? It was like during the pandemic, like appliance debacle. We built a bunch of houses that were like spec homes that we were like, I guess we're just buying refrigerators. Like, let's just go to the store and buy those ones.
Yeah, you guys.
And we had like $1 million houses with like little rinky-dink refrigerators because there was. I was like, your refrigerator's not going to be here maybe for a year.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, what? What do you mean? I'd be like, look, your house is beautiful. Your refrigerator looks ridiculous. Like,
sticking out a little too much.
Thank God, almost everybody except for one lady was not. Everybody was cool about it.
Most were accepting it.
Everybody was like, hey, look, like we get it. We see the news. We appreciate it. Yeah.
The supply chain issues all backing everything up. So we had one recently. We just had Kelly just worked and had it photographed this past week. And that was one, that same thing, the refrigerator. Tiny little, it looked like it was a 30-inch refrigerator and it's really wide opening, but or even narrower than that. But
if you look hard enough on our website, there's probably at least one picture where you can be like, hey,
there's a refrigerator.
I was just like, we're not coming back. Just to go with it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I remember one lady. It was a beverage refrigerator, and the project manager called me and said like how upset the lady was that like her refrigerator wasn't going to be there for like months.
Oh man!
And it was a beverage refrigerator in her basement, brand new home. And she was very upset with me, and pretty much the moral of the story was I should have seen the coronavirus coming. That was my fault for not predicting that.
How dare you?
I should have ordered the appliance the day we broke ground on the house.
Yeah.
I should have known that particular small dishwasher-sized refrigerator was going to be back ordered. And, like, how dare I? And, and that's how that ended.
Wow.
I literally was like, I am really sorry. I am a complete piece of... She's like, well, as long as you learn from this.
Whatever. That put the nail in the coffin.
I was like, all right,
cool.
All right, cool. I'm sorry. I just cried myself to sleep.
Well, and as far as I guess it wasn't even the main refrigerator; it was a beverage cooler.
Yeah, no. In case her grandkids came to visit or something, or maybe her kids. Maybe she was old and just had young kids and was just losing her mind.
They want cold Capri Suns, dude.
Yeah,
Cold Sun
Do kids still drink Capri Suns?
I don't know. Kool-Aid Jammers.
Kool-Aid Jammers.
I don't know.
Oh man, do you remember that we had to like twist the top off, and if you didn't, you had to like.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, "Don't use your teeth," and it's like, "Well, give me an effective opening."
Yeah, with twisted top.
Who designed
or you were stabbing a straw on the top.
Oh
and
yeah,
you're
that one.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Capri Suns.
Dude, Capri Suns. They should make adult-sized Capri Suns. Have you ever had a Capri Sun as an adult and just been like, "Where's the rest of it?"
Oh,
It's like you have it sucked down.
You're like, yeah,
10 seconds.
Yeah, I'm an adult. Like, I take one gulp. This is a gulp of a drink.
Yeah. I visit my nephews and I just crush Capri Suns with them.
And I realized that back when I was an animal in my young 20s, we hosted a party and there was some sort of thing we were doing with Capri Suns, and we had to open so many Capri Suns to make this beverage that we were doing that I finally was just like, dude, can somebody please look up like a substitute to Capri Suns? There's no way we're poking all these things and chicken.
You should have cut them straight across.
Yeah, we got there, but none of us were that smart in the beginning. We're just like,
Just
yeah, but it's weird. Have you ever cut the top off like that of a Capri Sun and like just drank it like an open container?
no, never.
Weird.
I've never done that.
It's weird. If you're listening to this, go get a Capri Sun, cut
I'm
the
gonna
top
try it.
and drink it like a cup. So you won't trust yourself. You'll be like, who am I?
It's so flimsy.
You feel like a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell? All right, I'm gonna try it.
No, like self-respecting person would like.
I'm visiting my nephews this weekend. I'm gonna do that.
They're gonna look
riled
up.
Yeah, they're gonna look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah, Uncle Andrew had some ideas this week.
Just tell him that he conquered the Capri Sun.
Yeah,
now you
yeah,
guys
yeah.
can too.
Yeah, exactly.
The year,
One day they'll learn.
the year was 2010.
Yeah.
The Capri Suns were winning.
Yeah, they'll learn. It's fun.
Somebody had a pair of scissors. Yeah. Damn, it was such a good episode.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
I was
for
very
coming
much looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was as well, and glad you guys were able to have both Kelly and I on, and maybe some down the road you'll get one of the other guys on.
Yeah, definitely. Who do you think in your office, who are like the next two people that would make good podcast guests? And nobody listens to this, so don't worry. Nobody's going to
it's fine.
nobody will
Nobody's
hear
ever
who
gonna
your
hear.
favorites
Yeah,
are.
gonna hear.
no one's gonna hear.
Well, I know Brigitte would be dying to be on here and announcing to the world, even though she hasn't announced it yet. She just won an Emmy as a producer
Whoa,
for
Yeah.
NFL films.
I heard. I didn't know if we were. Yeah, that's awesome.
that's
Yeah.
I
incredible.
wanted to be like, hey, I know somebody.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Would you
And
know
that's
what it's
her-
for?
That's her third one now. Yes, actually. Actually, that part I'm not sure if I'm able to put that out there.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll answer you that one off. But anyway, she did really important work with NFL films, and that was her mic drop on the way out, and
Nice.
we're very fortunate to have her on our
Wow.
team now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, definitely. We'll have to get her on. I don't
Yeah,
want
we-
to talk about it when I'm
yeah,
here because
yeah.
then we got to get her
I want to
on.
get her on though.
Yeah, it was. You're definitely. I said this to Kelly too because Kelly was in this category of guest. I have a decent amount of confidence, but there's always people that like when you meet them, you're like, they'll never want to come on the podcast.
Yeah.
So like you're one of those people that like
Think
I'd
I'll
be
ever
like,
come on?
no, I was like, I don't even be like he's never even gonna know I have a podcast. Like this is in the building world. He's got his head in the sand.
Yeah.
But like there's certain people in the community, like Tom Frank was one of those people where it's like these people come across in front of us or yourself, and it's just like, wow, we get the opportunity to sit down with somebody that's actually done something that we think is really cool. So I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, well, I appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully at least one person here is okay.
Yeah.
Kelly probably will be just a laugh at it, but
Yeah, you'll have some listeners and I don't know, a few people in the Philippines.
Yeah.
so if you're in the Philippines,
Yeah. Sometimes the analytics are random. It's like I wonder what they were watching.
Yeah.
What
right.
did you search on YouTube to find this?
Yeah. How do we come across your screen,
like,
dude?
what's your SEO like? What are you putting out there to get the?
Dude,
Yeah, you got to be careful out
yeah,
there.
yeah. You put one wrong word on there, man.
You gotta watch it.
What if you became like famous because of something random? There's people that are famous. Like, they're just like, what are you famous for?
Yeah.
That's us.
Yeah, that'll be us one day.
Yeah.
We'll see.
For the most investigations in Bucks County.
Yeah,
or
we're
something.
famous in the Philippines.
So-
yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you guys investigating right now in Bucks? Able to
I
be
guess it sounds
discussed?
like we're going to be investigating Brigitte pretty soon.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for
our
sure.
full scale investigation.
Yeah, I think our dumbest one was the Batman one.
Yeah, do you know who Bucks County Batman is?
I've seen
Yeah.
like
we started a real conflict with him.
He started it. We
Yeah,
didn't do shit.
he did start it.
ends
I
up in
responded
pictures.
every time. Yeah, we played. We don't know what that guy's deal is, but he was supposed to come do shows a bunch of times. We like tracked him down a few times,
Yep.
and then it got to the point where we literally would just dedicate an entire show to just saying negative things about him. In the most ridiculous way possible. Be like, dude, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then we had an entire episode dedicated to like exploring how potentially the Joker was a better man than the Batman.
Yeah.
And we had all these when we started really talking about it, like it started out as a joke like 30 seconds in, and then we started like
The whole show.
throwing out just facts about, and then we're like, wait a minute, when you say it like that, like the Joker does sound like a better guy than the Batman.
Yeah.
He created jobs.
Mm-hmm.
He had all those employees. He had a lovely girlfriend, Harley Quinn. Like you wouldn't attract a woman like that of caliber if you weren't a decent dude. Batman had nobody. He got his wife he got his girl killed in the first Dark Knight movie.
Yeah, he's some rich
Like what
sad
kind
boy.
of just a rich guy driving around in a Lamborghini making a fuss.
Yeah, right.
The Joker
relax.
was like out for the small guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he wasn't that bad of a guy.
Yeah, he's not wasn't that bad.
Yeah, so we applied that to Bucks County Batman.
Now you have to have him on now.
Yeah, never dead to us.
Yeah, man, whatever, dude. He missed his chance, dude.
We
Opened the door and he closed it on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How
and
dare
then, yeah, some of his content that the guy posted was, it would be like, is this a pro? Can we have this guy on the show?
Yeah, I know. He posted
It was
crazy
so
stuff.
pretty wild stuff. Like he had some girl. Like I'm not even gonna get into
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
We
yeah.
got a respectable English,
English,
Bohemian
German
Irishman.
boy.
Yeah, kids are listening.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks
I
for coming on,
appreciate
you.
John.
it. And we'll wrap it up there.
Of course.
Gilmar,
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Appreciate
Cool.
you.
So this is No Prisoners Podcast with our good friend John Wolstenholme Associates in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Make your home, business structure, everything in your existence can be beautiful around you if you give them a call. So we'll have their link or their website in the bio, and you can check them out. And thanks for listening.